How does this budget demonstrate that the government empathizes with Ghanaians about their current difficulties?
Thank you very much for your important question to us. My regards to the good people of Ghana, and my greetings to my fellow discussants on your platform, and I thank you for this opportunity. And I also greet the Nshiaso constituents, every stakeholder there. I thank them for this opportunity, by the grace of God. I think it is quite clear that the media budget, 2024 media budget review, which was presented, is a material evidence of the fact that we actually integrated the welfare and the utility and the satisfaction of the good people of Ghana by making sure that in times such as this, looking at our fiscal space and looking at our debt to GDP issues, even though it has been reduced slightly after including the Dachi and the ESLA and the Cocoa Board stuff like that, we still reduce it from about 72.9 to about 72.3. We still have to, we should have honestly increased our taxes to enhance our internally generated fund revenue to still consolidate our fiscal space. But we consider the fact that yes, Ghanaians, just as like most of the countries in the world, are still going through post-COVID hardship. It is a fact. Prices and stuff like that. So we decided not to introduce any new tax, increase anything that will increase or put further burden on Ghanaians. Aside that, my minister, Dr. Amin Andam, by the president, through my minister, we have actually launched SME Go. With committed amount of about 8.2 billion, and this time to make sure that SMEs, actors are given large amount of money so that they can create jobs to support Ghanaians. If you look at social intervention policies, looking at the cash and non-cash in terms of redistribution policies, we've done a lot to increase government commitment by allocating a lot of funds in the area of LEAP, school feeding, in the area of even the national health insurance and all those things. So these are clearly evidence or indicative of the fact that the government is highly committed to the welfare of Ghanaians. And the minister emphatically, just as the president also said, and I also stand by it, that we all show empathy. And because of that, we've been very disciplined in managing our fiscal space. If you look at the primary macro indicators, which probably time will allow me to expatiate, because I have to stay within your question. We've been working so hard to stabilize the economy and make sure that we can grow to affect these areas. So I think it is very clear statement that the government, per its recent policies, per its discipline in terms of disciplinary actions, being a government that is actually taking into consideration how the world went, the crisis that we came in, and that led to we engaging IMF and setting indicative targets that we have outperformed almost all the targets and bringing this economy back to life. If you see that the trends, the negative trends are being reversed. I call it speed and accuracy. So you look at all these facts. These are material facts in terms of numbers. They were the same numbers that were a few years back, a couple of years back, people were insulting the government, saying all sorts of things. Some were even calling God and other things. And now we see them gradually coming back. We stay within our budget framework in terms of our revenue and expenditure, not adding non-concessional loans. So all these things are clearly showing the position of this government today, how we care about the ordinary Ghanaian, how we care about the suffering of Ghanaians, and how we are mitigating the impact that the world crisis had on the Ghanaians.
Kofi, so yes, you want to make a response. You do that quick before I ask you my substantive question. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Steve.
I thought we were going to go into...
Because you lifted your hand up.
A couple of things I want to say. Samson and Prof and my brother here, let's be very honest. Anytime, it doesn't matter who is in government, that government touts itself with this macroeconomic stability and achievement. Ghanaians do make these comments. We don't feel in our pocket. It doesn't have the micro impact. practically, it is true. But let's be very technical and tell them one of the major causes, which is as a result of uncontrollable factors. Our economic market, or our market, is largely SMEs. And normally the SMEs, their systematic risk index is far less than 1. What it means is that when the economy moves 10% forward, they move slowly or they don't move at all. We have elsewhere that the market largely are having systematic risk index of 1. So when it moves, they move with them. So practically, it takes a very long time. So if you have just about, say, even 1 year after this world crisis, where our inflation rate went to about 50.1%, the world grew negative 3.3%, Ghana was growing 0.4%. With all these, dangerous zones we found ourselves in economically, and we are recovering. Practically, you will not have ready impact on Ghanaians. So it is a fact. But let us appreciate it, not as if probably the giant achievements or attainment of the managers of the economy where we are reversing these negative trends are showing clearly that yes, there's hope and there's future. And as he said, we have to be humble and then also let Ghanaians understand that things are getting better. If your child is not well, vomiting, not eating, growing lean, and you see, oh, now he's not vomiting, the temperature is still high, now he's eating but not as he used to, then you have hope. And this is where we are. So sometimes this connection between macro and micro in our country is as a result of our market nature.
All right.
We need to understand.
There's been a reduction in the appropriation bill, and that is 21.7 billion Ghana cedis. What does that mean?
What I know is that we have interest payments. They are external. If I'm lying, profits here. And then we also have, I think, one other area, amortization. So what it means is that maybe we are appropriated to spend A, B, C, D. We are staying within, but not going beyond. Because, of course, our difficulty now is probably, in my opinion, sometimes as a country, expenditures that probably get our fiscal space out of order and put us into trouble.
Right. So I
hope
just
you
needed
understand
that quick explanation to ask you a next question. Can you help me further on that?
Yeah.
21.7 billion reduction in the appropriation bill. What does that mean?
It's largely a reflection of the progress we have made with the external debt restructuring. So when they presented the 2024 budget, they had incorporated the full interest payment and amortization. But now that we are done, we need to recalibrate that to reflect the savings and the relief that we have made. So essentially, it's not like government...
As a result of the interest,
has done anything.
external interest,
and that is not the kind of expenditure card we have been pushing for all this while. So let's not package it as though this is extraordinary and all of that is. And of course, something that's why we are saying this is one of the most pricey recovery. Right. So if you look at the savings, even if you talk about the Euro bonds, some Ghanaians have invested in Ghana government Euro bonds. Even if you look at the domestic and the rest of it. So whilst government is counting the gains to bondholders, these costs, these sacrifices, and all of that, then people have to adjust their lifestyle in order for the country to have a breathing space.
Thank you. So Samson, for example, if you look at paragraph 70, they had interest payments which amounted to 29,348 million. That's about 3.5% of the against the target of billion. Against the target of what? 44.8 billion. So you realize that it is because you are not servicing your debts, you are not paying interest as a result of the program in which we are. That is what has brought about that savings. Not because they have cut expenditure in areas, including areas they have promised to
wasteful expenditure.
Just yesterday, we were looking at the foreign exchange payments and receipts of Bank of Ghana report. You would realize that travels and all kinds of things in 2023 went up heavily against the president's promise that this was not going to happen. So it tells you they are not cutting costs in areas they should be cutting to help reinvest.
In Kenya, the Gen Zs went on the street and stopped it completely. The president has stopped it. So unnecessary travels have all been cut.
And we have one too many in Ghana.
Now, Steve, the finance minister talks about our debt bedding, the debt hole of 742 billion. The Akufo-Addo government alone has brought us a debt addition of 619 billion plus from what the Mahama regime had added, which was 86 billion. The things that you intend to achieve within the next, how many, 4 months, are they plausible? Are they realistic in the face of this deep debt gulf?
Okay, Samson, thank you very much. Once again, just quickly, I think we're being asked what you've been doing to kind of support the poor in our country. My brother raised that we've done nothing. Time may not allow me, but I realize that we have disbursed about 5.4 billion cedis to support LEAP, school feeding program, capitation grant, NHI since 2024 to reduce the burden on the vulnerable in our country. I mean, I can read on and on. You check all of them, 1.5 billion cedis to support
which you would not have disbursed.
They are all there.
Which you would not have disbursed, but for the difficult situation. Is that what you mean?
Disbursed that we've done.
So,
I'm coming. So it doesn't, they shouldn't paint a picture as if we are not thinking about the poor. We've done a lot. No, you.
That's not the question.
But let me go and answer your question. Something.
Yeah.
We need to look at our economy, what it is, and explain. Sometimes allow people, I don't know everything in finance and economy. I wouldn't say that.
You're a finance person.
But it's my area when it comes to macroeconomic and finance. Just as you speak on law, doctors speak on health. Sometimes people should also listen to us. Practically, if we want to take,
you.
If we want to take away
in finance, PhD is not a cheap thing to come by.
If we take away politics, we run what I describe as negative effective tax rate economy. What it means is that whether party A or B in government, whether COVID or no COVID, generally, monies outlaid every year in this country by all governments. If you divide them among the households, the money each house will get is always, or generally, or most of the times, less than the amounts that government generate as revenue without or excluding loans if you divide the same amount. What it means is that characteristically, we spend most of the time more than we generate. A country that direct tax, I mean, for the people who pay tax in our country, forms about 6%, about 2 million out of about 34 million. We have a lot of issues with our
tax-paying population.
No, I mean direct tax. Go and check. I said direct tax. Like you pay, I pay, Kofi and something, those who are in the corporate sector. You can go and check. So we have issues with that. And then we came to a point, that this country had to stop working, but people were being paid. This one, nobody wants to listen. Has never occurred in the history of this country that people were asked to stay home, but they were paid for some months. And even when that came to an end, it was extended for about 21 months, where 10 people were working, 5 will come for 2 weeks, other will come for 2 weeks because of these post-COVID issues. And they were being paid. Listen carefully. Private sector sacked over 40,000 people. Payees, corporate taxes. We fall short of our revenue by, I think, somewhere around 12 billion. Check all these things. So we were forced to adopt that financing where we need to use loans to finance some of our statutory obligations and some of the things we needed. And that's why the president made this, in my opinion, divine statement that when it comes to life, we don't have what it takes to bring back life when people were dying. But when it comes to the economy, we can. And now he's proving right. I'm not saying there's no hardship. And even that is why this book, where is it? PFM Act. If you read the section 18 of this 2016 Act 921, it gives some concessions in terms of how we can even suspend our fiscal policies and stuff and rules, because we need to cater for this situation. What we are saying is that our debt has gone up, but debt management is calibrated in nature. It depends on the prevailing situation. When you couldn't have made a lot of revenue generation domestically, you stick to, we had a situation in this country that after Kufuor, the next 8 years of my brothers, our debt was increased from, I think, 9.2 to about 122, which was over 1,000%. We don't want to go back and forth with this sinusoidal performances of some of our indicators. The fact of the matter is that it's not good news. We understand it's not good news. But however, our economic challenges are prevailing in our country. It's said that we have issues with generating funds ourselves. And that is why...
the Ministry of Finance, where you sit, you have a plan and you know when we can say we have come to recovery, when we can say we are getting to recovery. As far as you are concerned, when are we looking to the recovery?
Recovery of what?
Economic recovery.
Oh, but of course, it's on course. Check.
No, I know that. It's on course. But there is a target. When will we get to economic recovery from this current state in a debt gulf, I said whole, of 742
we have about debt to GDP of about
billion.
55%, I think by 2028.
In present value
yes,
terms.
that is what we have. And then something...
By 2028.
Yeah, but let me explain something to you.
So you appreciate the historic nature of where the government has brought us.
No,
except that you are saying that the debt burden of over 600 billion in your time is justified because of COVID, correct?
Not just COVID. And then it's because of, not just COVID largely, yes, but because of, I use a word, negative effective tax rate economy, where the taxes we generate, revenue, they are always woefully inadequate against our expenditure needs.
Problem. That's always
but I wanted to explain these targets to you.
Okay.
Target settings are kind of something we can change depending on the time. You remember, our GDP growth, the target for 2024 budget was 3.1. As I'm talking to you now, we are growing around 4.7, more than that. In fact, even when it comes to this whole issue about inflation rate and others, we went as far as 54.1. You remember, even exchange rate went to about 54. Now we are doing about 18. So when it comes to target, it depends on the prevailing. So we'll keep on even revising our target. We had about, 1.5, we went to 2.9, they grow 1 to 3.1. So we keep on changing.
Right.
But what I can say is
I'm coming to you, Kofi.
What I can say is that even the indicative targets that were set between us and the IMF, most of them, check, we outperform all of them.
Thank you.
Most of them.
Now, Prof.
It is a fact.
Prof, I'm coming to you.
And lastly, our debt portfolio, we have included Dachi, you remember, part of the cocoa board debt, and even the ESLA, that initially we did not. And even with that, we've been able to reduce our debt to GDP, not remarkably,
but you would
from
also
about
acknowledge that there are other things
to 72.9 to about 72.3.
that other experts, including the minority, say should get into the debt burden, and you don't want to add into the debt burden.
They were treating them as below the line.
Thank you.
So something I think you should laud the government for what we've been doing, although there are challenges.
Thank you.
You should laud us.
Thank you. So, and he's saying things that people like Prof can confirm, the experts can confirm. There are times I like to listen to my good friend Ben Avle break these economic issues down. And the Côte d'Ivoire examples they are giving, I've heard Ben explain them in a way, even in relation to the tax exemption issues, where we are giving away just too much. I have some instructions to do a case in that, so I'm trying to understand it better. And I'm getting an understanding that gets me ask the question, what exactly are you doing? So it is not realistic. In the face of this debt burden, what you have put before us as a mid-year for the next 4 months will not do anything. It's going to be business as usual.
Samson, you've asked a long question. Allow me to answer this clearly.
The question is the last
In the first place, let's all be understanding the fact that to recover from what the world went through in Ghana, it's a process, it's not an event. And even some of the very indicators, the reason allowing some of the comments and statements are far better than even the year 2000. By June 2016, we are growing 2.7%. This is a fact. 2.7%. I don't want to keep on, because if you do that, then we don't want to be honest with the situation.
If you do that, it will not be sustainable.
You allow them
and
to
you
flow.
Like it.
Can you also allow me
I don't allow them to flow. I interject when I feel it is necessary. When we make a little intervention, you guys simply take an offense.
I'm not fair. Offended, but you ask a long question. Can you allow me?
I didn't ask a long question. It was a very brief question.
Okay.
In the face of this circumstance, what you have projected in this mid-year budget won't make any impact. That's the question.
And what I'm telling you is that it will. In the first place, where we're heading towards, the figures are showing that, yes, now there is hope. It's a process. That is a fact. It is a fact. But they also made certain comments that it would be good on my part, prudent, to also let people know.
You are not restrained from responding.
Exactly. For instance, have we also thought about the mortality rate during the COVID? Have you also considered that? What happened to the Ghanaian, their lives? 2, on your own station, I've been saying this, you remember, we keep on mentioning predominantly the Francophone countries. For Christ's sake,
Kenya is not a Francophone.
Can I finish? But Ghana is doing a lot of things also better than Kenya. Do they also actually give out the same pro-poor policies? The same free SH, we check all those things. So I believe in continental average, global average. Because if you take each country, you have some of the indicators Ghana is doing well. Others too, they are also doing well. And indeed, if you look at today, things like budget deficit, things like GDP, they are all even better than 2016. That is a fact. So I agree that there's hardship. And we need to, in a way, find a way to let Ghanaians understand that there is hope. If you're talking about taxes, let's be very honest, debt to GDP, not until we recalibrated our economy. And the system, check 2013 to 2016. I don't have the figures of here, but they were having debt to GDP, some of them 76, 78. I can send them to you from here. No, we can check, I have them. After this, if I don't send them to you.
Don't have.
No, I said that in Parliament, you couldn't argue. But I didn't know you were raising this. So but I'm telling you, between 2013 2016, until they did that, this whole economic, time they do rebasing, the debt to GDP was about 76. It was about 70.
So that rebasing is part of